Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Popular Decks. I'm your host Michael, and I'm here today with this interesting brew from Kung Fu Trees. So he's been playing this deck a little bit. It's basically a blue-black delve list, the old Gourmet Angler Delver kind of situation, but it's got some extra spice in it. So we've got this awesome Greater Sandworm package. So I'm hoping to get to kind of all the decks that have new cards from Amonkhet in them, and there aren't very many. So we already played Boggles, and this is one of the only other cards to come out of the set. So gonna check this one out. Before I get to the deck list, I just want to remind you guys to leave me any comments, any suggestions down below. Subscribe to me on YouTube if you want to get alerted anytime I put out a new video, and follow me on Twitter. I tweet out every time that I release a new video or anytime I go live on Twitch. So, for those of you familiar with the normal Angler Delver deck list, this is going to look pretty familiar to you with a couple extra pieces of spice. So, kind of the linchpins of the deck are normally the Thought Scours and the Mental Notes. These fill up our graveyard with 3 cards each, and they combo really well with Gourmet Angler and the Sultai Scavenger. On top of that, they're also really great with Brainstorm, so I can brainstorm 2 cards to the top of my library that I don't really want, and then I can Mental Note or Thought Scour them away. In the normal version of the deck, we've got a little more removal. This deck only is playing 2 pieces, so we've got 1 Ghastly Demise and 1 Echoing Decay. Normally we'd be playing like more copies of Ghastly Demise and I don't know, maybe some Doomblades or Chainer's Edicts or something else on top of these, but this is all this is kind of what got cut for the big creature package. We've got some card selection spells, like I mentioned. We've got the Brainstorm. We've got 2 Ponders in here, and then we've got all these one-ofs that always drive me crazy in these Kung Fu Trees lists because I just get got by them so much and drives me nuts. So we've got 1 Spell Pierce, 1 Dispel, 1 Daze. So it's really hard for your opponent to play around all of them at all the same time, and you might draw the wrong one, but if they try to play, like if they see the Daze game 1 and then they start playing around it, it can be pretty advantageous for you. Got 2 card advantage spells. I got 1 Gush and 1 Think Twice, and then the last kind of one-of weird thing is this Rush of Vitality. So it's obviously great against burn. You can gain a ton of life, and you can win a big combat with it, or you can protect your creature from a removal spell, stuff like that. What's really nice about it is, like, if someone goes to kill your creature and they're holding up like Pyroblast or something to stop you from countering it, you can still save it with this. And then we've got the spicy package. So we've got 4 Exhumes. So Exhume is the only like good Reanimator spell in Pauper. There's some other weird ones that are pretty janky, like a creature that you have to sacrifice or whatever, and it has a summoning sickness, so it takes forever. So we've got Exhumes. And we don't kill too many of our opponent's creatures, so we shouldn't be giving them back too much stuff. And we also have Bojuka Bogs to prevent them from having creatures in their graveyard. And then finally we've got, in general, we'll have bigger creatures to put in the graveyard and we'll get them faster. So we've got this 1 Twisted Abomination, go and find us a swamp, and then we can exhume it back. And then the new addition is Greater Sandworm, 7/7, really beefy. It's really tough to kill this with burn spells, and you can't chump block it. That's kind of the big problem with some of the other big Reanimator targets, is you can just chump block them. Like, you can chump block Twisted Abomination for a long time, Gourmet Angler can get chumped, whatever, but you can't chump Greater Sandworm. Hardly any creatures in the format block these things. Like, how many creatures in the format have more than 2 power? There's almost none. There's like the 4/4s from Affinity, and I don't know, a pumped up Boggle. There's just not that many creatures that can block this, so he's a big dude. And then finally we've got the Delve creatures, pretty standard for the list. On the sideboard we got some interesting stuff. We've got 1 more Dispel and some Hydroblasts to counter things. We've got some Nile Spell Bombs for the graveyard decks, and I don't know, it can make our Exhumes better too. Got a Vampiric Link, so this is much like Spirit Link in the sense that you can put it on your opponent's creature, and every time they hit you, you gain that much life, so it kind of can blank one of their creatures as well. They don't get lifelink, you just gain the life from a trigger. I'd say most of the time we're putting this on our own creatures, though. We've got 2 Doomblades for, I don't know, like killing Gurmag Angler, not Gurmag Anglers, for killing Ulamog's Crushes and stuff, some Shrivels for the Go Wide decks, Auraflux for Boggles, because you can see we actually don't have any edicts at all in this black deck. So Auraflux to make them small and then shrivel them to death. We've got Stormbound Geist for kind of like the Chainer's Edict matchups, Deep Analysis for all the late game stuff, and then Evankar's Justice to sweep up all the small creatures. So a lot of kind of 1-ofs, 2-ofs, not very many cards coming in at any given time. We don't want to dilute the main deck, and I can respect that. So that's all we have here. I just want to remind you guys again to give me a follow down below, subscribe, give me any comments, help me improve on my content. And with that, let's get to some games.